The Real Estate and Mortgage Show, your go-to spot for everything home buying, selling, and financing on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Who?
With his amazing Speedo tan lines, we have Frank back in the studio this week. Welcome back,
Speedo.
Frank.
The Speedos now are different. They're not what you think they are. But anyway, you know what? Great to be back. Been a long month. I've never missed 4 shows in a row. So
it has been one of the nicest months I've ever gone through in my entire career of radio, ever. And you can see I'm a little bit depressed today. You know, Frank is back. You know, it's been such a good break. And it's funny. I actually got calls from radio stations and studios in LA, New York, like all these places around the world trying to pick up this show because of how good it was the last 4 weeks.
With Sherry
and Lisa.
Wow.
Like LA is offering me a boatload of money to bring this show there, but they're like, is Frank coming back? And I'm like, he is. They're like, yeah, contract's off the table. Sorry, Paul. You know?
Thank you, Sherry and Lisa, for
Yes,
filling in.
yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. While I took a nice, long-planned vacation, followed by a work cruise. It was a cruise, Mediterranean cruise.
Work cruise. Yeah,
But I
Paul.
was with mortgage agents from Mortgage Brokers Ottawa, and we had such a blast. Lisa being one of them. I mean, she was there for it, and then followed by a conference in Vancouver, which was awesome, actually, to see some of the top performers in our country, and then it'll be highlighted in October with our national conference being here in Ottawa. So,
well, we did
which is awesome.
We did actually talk about that last week, and once again, for people who didn't tune in last week, Frank was actually the word's not nominated, awarded, inducted into the Mortgage Hall of Fame, which is like, as Sherry put it last week, it's like winning the Stanley Cup for a hockey player. So that's congratulations, Frank.
Congrats, Frank. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. Yeah, you know what? It's what an honor. I mean, what a day that was when I got the phone call to say that I was inducted, and I was with a bunch of my coworkers, and they saw my emotions, and I was kind of speechless for about 2 or 3 hours. We're at dinner, and they're all looking at me. What's going on? It's
Whoa, you said speechless?
Yes, I'm trying to process. Wow, I just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was just in awe of the whole day, and I'm glad I was with good friends and coworkers that I was with, and to share it with them, and they were pretty proud to be there as well, and most of them are coming to the dinner, and so pretty high award. But at the end of the day, I think you receive these nominations because you do what's best for the industry and Canadians, and
you have good
pride.
people around you,
of course,
and you have great people around you.
And I'll say it as part of my speech. This award, as much as it's got my name on it, it's really belongs to my family and my team and my coworkers that I work with, and if it wasn't for this radio show, Steve and Paul will tell you, and Greg will tell you that I wouldn't be anyone if it wasn't for this radio show, right,
well, I
Paul?
wouldn't say you wouldn't be anyone. When I first got into business, I wanted to meet this Frank Neapolitano guy because he was this famous mortgage broker, and so I finally got to meet Frank, and then I just realized he's a dud after meeting him. But other than that, but you actually had Greg and I at Speechless. We were hoping like Saturday between 11 and 12, you being speechless would be a miracle,
Miracle.
All right, I picked on Frank enough for the last 4 weeks.
I know it's all out of love. So,
Yes,
I've had a few people say, "Yeah, you guys, we're good. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
You know what? You truly, to me, I've always said, true friends can take jabs at each other without being offended, because that's what true friends are about.
Absolutely.
It's the ones that do it behind your back that you got to be worried about. They're not the true friends, but the ones that do it face to face. That's what a true friend is, in my opinion.
I do it face to face, but I also do it behind your back.
That's okay. But I know you'll do it face to face.
And here you guys are 19 years later.
19 years
Still
later.
doing the show,
Crazy,
right?
Crazy,
So
eh?
it can't be that bad.
So what did I miss? 4 weeks. What did I miss? Because as much as I was in it, I knew Bank of Canada was going to drop. I knew the U.S. was going to drop, and the U.S. is likely going to drop again. Canada should follow suit as well, but who knows? I mean, some reports that came out yesterday, the GD report came out fairly positive yesterday. But nonetheless, I mean, I think that there's a little bit of relief for Canadians. I don't know that it's going to open the floodgates, but maybe you can answer that, Paul, because the real estate isn't probably flying off the shelves.
No, like Greg's super busy. He's listing homes left, right, and center, and our team, we're listing, anywhere from 12 to 15 homes a week, maybe even more. So we're listing a whack of homes. But, the sales are okay. They're not great. And there's a consensus out there, and I hate to say it, but there's a there's a lot of angst among the government workers right now. There's a lot of worried government workers about losing their job. And that's what I'm hearing a lot. People who are sitting on the fence a little bit, who work in the government, and they're a little bit worried. They're like, I'm not 100% positive in my job, so I don't want to buy this house, or I don't want to move forward on this, or I'm not going to do anything with the sale of my house.
Sticking with the status quo.
Yeah, and I mean, and I hope no one's losing their job, but they did say that there's going to be a lot losing their job to attrition, which is not always a terrible thing, because these people are going to retire anyways, and they get packaged out, and they just go a little bit earlier. But there's a lot of young people right now who are actually very nervous, and it's for the first time in a long time where I've noticed that, when we go to see a government worker, that they are a little bit nervous right now, which is, I can't imagine. I mean, I feel very obviously secure in my job, but I couldn't imagine going to work every day and not knowing, right? Like it's so I get it. But I think that's the only thing that's put a little bit of I'm not going to say a pause on the market, because homes are selling left, right, and center, but it maybe put a little bit of maybe a little curveball in the market right now, because the rates are somewhat decent. I mean, you're still high threes now, or low fours. So you still can get into a great property at a great price. But yeah, I just find there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines when in the past, when we had those rate drops, they'd move hard into the market, and they're sitting back a little bit still right now.
Well, I think it's hurting first-time home buyers, right? Because the government layoffs are hurting first-time home buyers, because I think there's a lot of people that aspired, especially in our city of Ottawa, to get government jobs.
Yeah.
And now they're not hiring. It feels like they're laying off, but there's no new jobs. So I think that scares the first-time home buyers.
Have that security of that government position, that pension coming down the line.
Well, not even just a pension, but knowing that you've got a full-time job that's indeterminate, which is a government word for full-time, and you're secure in your job, or you're supposed to be, although the layoffs don't make everybody feel so secure anymore. But it used to be that if you got a government job, you're set. You're good. You don't have to worry about it. So where now it's not necessarily, doesn't feel that way for a lot of government workers who are nervous. And even some of the young ones that have been hired over the last 2, 3, 4 years are a little nervous. They're saving, getting ready to buy a house, and now all of a sudden there's the potential that they may lose their job. And first-time home buyers, and Paul will verify, the first-time home buyers are what really get the market going. Because if first-time buyers are getting into the market, that means that somebody's able to sell their first home and get into a second home and all the way down the line.
Moving
and then you get
ladder
to the senior age where you go back the other way and you're downsizing. So it just opens up some doors that I think right now are just a little bit closed right now.
35% of our market is usually first-time home buyers. So if you don't, that's a large segment of our market. And as those first-time home buyers get into that market, it allows people to move up and then move down, like Frank was just talking about. And so if that first part of that chain is broken a little bit, it really slows down the market. And it's been broken for a while as the rates have been skyrocketing and prices then skyrocketed. So, as we're seeing prices come down and rates come down, usually we're seeing that first-time home buyer jump back in the market really quick. But unfortunately, a lot of those first-time home buyers are nervous about their jobs with the government right now.
Well, there was a survey out this week that actually said 82% of first-time home buyers are holding off for 12 to 24 months.
And see, that's crippling for the market, right? Because
Absolutely.
We need those people into the market. Now, here's the problem with that. 82% of the people who are holding off for 12 to 24 months, I'd say 60% of those 82% are not coming into the market again, because you get caught up in that rent trap, right? When your rent's still high, suburbia townhouse is still, 26 to $3,000, depending on the size of it. So rents are still high. By the time you're paying, let's say 26 to $3,000 a month in rent, and then you got your bills on top of that and your groceries and your gas and all that stuff. So now you're $5,000-$6,000 a month. It's hard to save money to get back into the purchase game. And so I think if the people are holding off right now, the longer you stay in the rental market, the harder it's going to be to get back into purchasing a property. So love to see people get back into purchasing a property and start building some wealth rather than sort of sitting on the sidelines and building other people's wealth.
But I'm hearing, though, that rents are starting to tail off a little bit, flatten and tail off a little bit, where the craziness we've seen over the last 3 years on rents is probably pulling back a little bit. I was in Vancouver for that conference, and in Vancouver, rentals are way down from a standpoint of what you can get an apartment for today versus even 6 months ago or 12 months ago, because there's so many of them now going back on the market. So,
well, the average price in Ottawa for a 2-bedroom is $2,150.
That's
right now.
That's a lot.
So when you're talking about with the mortgage rates coming down last week, and we must be getting close to a point where
We're getting
rent
close, but if
and-
you're getting into a condo and you got $400 or $500 condo fees, and
Right.
if that condo's selling for $500,000, let's say, or maybe it's $400, I don't know, what's a 2-bedroom condo go for?
It
Now,
depends on where.
on the neighborhood.
Yeah, to
but,
where. It could be anywhere from a low end of
average-
350 to 700-800.
Right.
Depending on where you're buying it. So yeah, I mean, if you can find something that, and a lot of times people don't realize, and you've said it before on the show many times, Frank. You're like, sure, you're going to go buy a $450,000 condo with $500 a month or $600 a month condo fees, or would you be smarter to spend an extra $150,000, $200,000 on a freehold townhome and not have those condo fees? Because yes, it might make sense to buy that condo now, but what happens when those fees go up? And I'm telling you, they're going up. Like everything goes up. They will go up.
They don't seem to ever come down. That's
No,
for
they
sure.
never. They're not going to say, "Oh, we saved a lot of money this year. We're going to lower your condo fees." That does not happen. So condo fees will go up. So that's the only downfall of buying an investment with condo fees is it's a variable. Sure, you know what your rent's going to be, but that part is a variable.
Right. If you have a question, give us a call, 521-TALK, 521-8255. And also remember, we have a web form. If you don't feel like calling in, you can go to realestateandmortgageshow.com and submit your question there. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, Paul, I was in the office this week, and I heard you were working on a couple of guaranteed deals. Are you doing a few more guarantees these days than you have in the past?
It's insane. Like there's a lot of people right now who have bought properties and they're closing on their property soon. And I'm getting a lot of calls to come give them the guaranteed sale program. And I'm shocked. Like that was on the Tuesday. I think you were in there. And I was
Tuesday,
working on 2 guarantees that one day, like 2 guarantees. And I was literally shocked at how many calls we're getting right now about the guarantee. Because two types of people take the guarantee. Usually it's an older couple. They usually own their house outright, but they just want the peace of mind that there's a contract in place that their home is sold if we can't do a better job and get them a better price.
There's an end date.
There's
too
an
there.
end date.
Yeah.
It's 120 days, and if your home's not sold, I'll buy it, and I put it in a contract just before, like as I give it to you as we're listing the property. And the other person is the man or the woman, the couple, the whatever, that have bought a property thinking their house is going to have no problem to sell, and it doesn't sell right away, and now they're panicked. There's a month left before they have to close on this new home, and most people can't close on that new home, so they call me and say, I need your guarantee. So I go in there, I put a guarantee on their home, gives them a contract. They can then take it to their bank, their mortgage broker, and say, okay, my home is sold. I'm going to do a little better than the price he gave me, but if I don't, it is sold. And so those are the 2 type of people that really use my guarantee, and it's one's a necessity, the other's peace of mind. So, But yeah, the phone is literally ringing nonstop on the guarantee right now. So, which in one essence is great, but it's not great because it tells us we're in a bit of a tougher cycle right now with the market. When my phone rings on the guarantee, it screams to me that some people are in trouble.
Balanced market, in your opinion?
We're definitely in a balanced market, but it looks where it's where you're looking in the city, right? I mean, there's certain areas that I'm like, oof, that's going to be a tough sell. Then there's other areas that I'm like, that'll sell overnight, right? So it's usually the areas that have a lot of new home tract builders are usually the areas that are tougher right now. You get more people looking in there, but there's lots of competition, including new builds. It's the older areas that don't have as much competition. There's no new builds in there that usually sell a little bit quicker. So.
All right, to the phones we go. We got Jay in Barhaven. Welcome to the show, Jay. You got a question for Frank about your mortgage coming up.
Yes, and thank you for taking my call. 2 years ago, I retired. Well, at least that's what we'll call it. I left my job on a buyout package, and my mortgage is up for renewal in May of 2026.
Okay.
Now, I'm wondering if because I retired, if I'm kind of handcuffed to stay with my original lender, or if there's some way I could still shop around for better rates.
Well, it depends. Are you working? Is there any income coming in?
Oh, yeah. I have a modest pension, and I collect my CPP, and I have savings. I haven't dipped into my savings or RRSP yet.
Yep. So depending on your the amount of income, if you're going to shop around, there was a period where the government and OSFI allowed for people to shop around their mortgages without having to requalify if they had AAA credit history, but they took that away as part of the stress test. So now you do have to requalify. So your income will play a part in it. Again, depending on the balance of your mortgage, that'll go a long way as well, and how much you owe and, your credit history, it all plays a part, but the income is critical. So, I would say give me a call off the air and we can go through some numbers. The fact that your mortgage is up in May might not be bad because you're probably in a pretty decent rate right now. So you're certainly in no rush to probably renew your mortgage. But, based on what happened a couple of weeks ago with Bank of Canada and the forecast moving forward, hopefully rates come down a little bit more over the next 7 or 8 months so that at least when your renewal comes up, you'll be in the interest rates will be much better than they are today.
Oh, so, okay. Tell you straight up, I got an 853 credit score. However,
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. However, between my pension and CPP is not enough. I have to live off, I got a bio package, so I'm living off some of that cash now.
Yep.
Plus, I had saved for 30 years, so I have, a pretty good chunk of change in my RSP and TFSA.
Yeah, so some banks have what's called a net worth program. So what that net worth is, they'll look at what your assets are, and based on your assets, they can make an exception on the income based on the fact that you've got something to fall back on to cover you for the mortgage. So, again, pretty unique programs. They're very specific, what they approve and what they don't approve. And I will say this, that between now and next May, our hope is that, we can get OSFI and the government, because we are entering the busiest 18-month period ever in Canadian mortgage history as far as mortgages coming up for renewal. And most of these mortgages are coming up for renewals. Most clients are in the ones. It starts with a 1 or a 2, and all of a sudden they're having to go into a 3 or 4. So, there's a lot of pressure from our association to push the government to make some changes to make it easier for people to be able to shop their mortgages around and not give some of the banks and lenders, the upper hand when it comes to knowing that you might not qualify to go somewhere else, so they don't have to necessarily give you the best rate.
Oh, so didn't the Liberals promise like a few years back?
you had us at promise.
Yeah.
Didn't they promise that they were going to make the banks or force the banks to give us their best rates and not have to have us negotiate for it?
They may have talked about it, but it's certainly the banks certainly didn't hear it. That's for sure. Because, depending on, you go from one branch to another, same bank, you can get a different rate from one branch to another. So it all depends. And, people say, I don't know why that happens. Like, shouldn't they all be on the same page? So here's the reason that one branch might be able to do better than another branch, because the client before you may have not had any negotiating skills and accepted a much higher rate than they could have gotten had they asked for it. So therefore, that extra profit goes into the kitty, where the branch, if they want to retain or get a new mortgage, can use that to be able to do even a better rate, which to me, I've always said seems unfair, because if the guy next to you that lives next to you got 389 and you go to the bank and the bank says the best we can do is 419, I don't know. I see a problem with that. I see that that's not fair. So, but I would say give me a call off air, because then I'd be able to crunch some numbers for you, at least get you ready. For anybody that's got a mortgage that's coming up, in the next 6 or 8 months, I always say not a bad idea, at least to start some of your research now, as far as maybe you have outside debt that you want to add to your mortgage. But you need to be prepared for it. Don't wait until 2 weeks before, because by then, if your credit score isn't where it's supposed to be or your income doesn't allow you to qualify, now, the existing bank or lender that has your mortgage may have the upper hand and not have to negotiate with you anymore.
Yeah, but Frank, rather than call you off air, I know we have to go to the break, but what I'll do is I'll give you Frank's address and maybe just stop by and have a coffee with Frank. And I'll give the address at the end of the show. All right?
Okay. Paul.
We can talk liberal promises.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call,
Thanks, Jay.
Appreciate it. So that's interesting, the net worth program. But there are some very specific rules around it, you were saying.
Very, very specific, and where, some things count and some things don't. Some assets do count, some don't. So, and it varies from one institution to another. So everybody has different, policies in place based on whether they allow for TFSAs or how much of the RSP is eligible, because an RSP is taxable if you withdraw it. So therefore, they take that into account as well. Some lenders allow for some of the equity that's in the homes, especially if you've got multiple investment properties. They'll allow for some of that to count. Others won't. So they're very specific programs from one bank to another. And, we've used them, but they take longer to get approvals. They have to go to head office, all of them for approval.
Right.
And I will say that if you're going for that type of a program, you will be papered to death, honestly. I mean, they want Most banks will want 6 months or 12 months of statements to show that you consistently hold those assets.
They want to see everything.
They want to see everything. I mean, we're seeing that anyway on down payments for money laundering purposes, but
for sure,
it gets even deeper when you get into those specialized programs.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk to Dave in Orleans on the phone. 521-TALK, 521-8255. Welcome back to the phones we go. We got Dave from Orleans wants to talk about the guarantee program, Paul.
Perfect. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. How are you? Thanks for taking the call. Big fan of the show, guys.
Thank you.
Paul, question for you. A couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, your company sold our home. And, what that did is allowed us essentially to buy a house right away because, like you said, there was a guaranteed price or guaranteed purchase anyways. So I see a lot of companies right now, they're stealing your idea. Offering the same option of I'll buy your house regardless of if it's sold or not. What's the main difference between what you're doing and what they're now trying to do, on their side?
Well, Dave, if you remember when I gave you the guarantee, obviously that allowed you then to go purchase a property. And I haven't got stuck with a guarantee in a long time, so I'm assuming I didn't buy your house, correct? And you probably sold.
Yeah, it sold within 2 weeks and over asking, so it was awesome.
Okay, good. But at least you had the guarantee that you could go to the bank and give them the contract and say, my house is sold. I'm now going to go purchase another property. So
exactly.
So without getting myself in trouble, I will tell you what the difference between my guarantee and anyone else's guarantee is. One, I actually developed the guarantee. I brought the guarantee to Ottawa. My contract's written by lawyers. It's an Ontario Real Estate Association contract, and it's really only condition of my contract is we agree on price and terms. And if you recall, I probably gave you a pretty decent price on that guarantee that made it very easy for you to accept my guarantee, correct?
You did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I give you a high percentage of asking price is what I give you on that guarantee. And then, in 120 days, if it's not sold, I've bought your house. But listen, I don't need to own other homes in Ottawa. I don't want to buy someone's home. But I also want to get you out of a bind because I understand that the bind is you get stuck with 2 homes or no home at all if you can't buy one, right? So that's what the guarantee does for you. And I can tell you, and it's funny you say that because I was driving the other day through a neighborhood. I'm not going to say what neighborhood, but I see a sign on top that's typical of my topper that says, buy this home, I'll buy yours. And I look at it and not to knock anything, but I know for a fact that this person will not be able to do the guarantee, right? So what I would do, I would ask for testimonials. I'd ask for proof that they've actually had to buy a home. I'd ask for proof that they've actually had to do a guarantee, like write up a guarantee. There's some years I'm writing up, anywhere from 20 to 25 guarantees on properties in a tough market. So I know that my guarantee is legit. One, I mean, we sell 600 to 700 homes a year, so I do have the budget to buy homes if I have to. Right. And so it's just a big difference between what I offer. And there's probably a handful of people out there who are offering that, we'll buy your home, but it gets the phone to ring for some people where my phone, when it rings, it's legit. I go out and actually offer the guarantee to people. Like I said, I did on Tuesday, I did 2. I offered 2 guarantees. Listen, the goal is to get it sold before, I have to guarantee and before I have to own that home. And then we just rip up my guarantee and you take the better offer.
That's right.
And it happens 9.9 out of 10. You're going to get that better offer, but it gives you that peace of mind. And Dave, if I recall in your situation, you guys had already bought a property and you needed my guarantee. Yeah, like you guys were like a month away from owning that home and getting in trouble, having 2 mortgages. Yeah. So no, I remember that. I remember that guarantee. So that's pretty much the big difference. And I'm glad I was able to help you out. I mean, there's a testimonial right there that the guarantee actually works, right? It works.
Absolutely. Now, can it be a bit of a game though, where the realtor, realtor A will say, okay, we're going to list your home and it's a ridiculous amount, and then they offer you a low-ball guarantee. So if the house doesn't sell because of what they're asking, you get that low-ball guarantee and you're stuck with it.
Well, most people,
a bit of a game that they can do,
but most people won't do that. I know there's a company in town right now. They're not even licensed realtors. There's a company in town that will offer to buy your house, and I've heard some of the offers. I was at someone's house the other day doing a guarantee, and the house was we were going to list it at $750, and I think this company came in and offered them $550.
Yeah,
listen, ridiculous. If your house is worth $750, I'll buy it for $550 all day, every day. Like, of course, like that's almost like an embarrassment to a guarantee price. Embarrassment, right? It has to be be to the point where, yes, I don't want to own your home, but at the same time, I want to give you a fair number that if the market does shrink or we go through a situation, that at least you got something in your pocket that allows you to move on to that next home. And as I mentioned, there's two people who take my guarantee, someone like you who had already purchased another home and someone who just wants that peace of mind. I mean, I get calls from people a lot of times that they don't owe a penny on their home. They don't need the guarantee. But they take it anyways because they're a little nervous, they're a little scared and stuff like that. But great question, Dave, and I'm glad I was able to bail you out back then. And unfortunately, the way the market's going right now, I'm having to do it a lot these days. So
no kidding. No kidding. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Love the show. Keep doing what you do.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the call, bud.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks. And a program like that really works well for financing too, because the problem that we've come across is somebody will call us a week before and we've got their mortgage approval in place subject to their house selling, and all of a sudden say, I want to let you know that our house didn't sell. Well, now you're a week left. It voids the actual mortgage approval in many cases because you don't qualify to carry the two homes. You only qualify to carry the one, not to mention the fact that you need the equity in that home to be able to have your down payment for the next home. You don't have money saved.
And Frank, I bet you hear this a lot. And this is a caveat for anyone listening, because I bet you hear this. Just give me bridge financing.
Yeah. Well, bridge financing doesn't apply. Bridge financing does apply if your house is sold firm.
Yes.
Not sold conditional to the people buying your house selling their home. That's not a firm offer. It has to be sold firm for you to be able to get bridge financing. So in scenarios like this, now, in many cases, these people, I've had scenarios where they've sold a house and it's not firm and all of a sudden it falls through and now all of a sudden they're in panic mode. So, I would say that a minimum of 15 days, and I would say even 3 weeks or 4 weeks is the time frame. If you've got a mortgage approval in place and it's subject to your house being sold and you're 3 weeks away from getting your new home and you haven't sold it yet.
You don't have a firm
deal in place.
You better call me quick.
Don't assume that a bridge loan is going to be there for you, because it likely won't. And depending on your circumstances, listen, if you have no mortgage on your house, the likelihood is pretty good you're going to be able to get, and you're not going to get bridge financing at that point. You'll have to put a line of credit on the new home equity line of credit, so that once your home sells, then you'll be able to pay it off kind of thing. Or there's even private bridge financing or private financing where they take into account the fact that there's lots of equity in one home. If you don't qualify, we've had scenarios where people are retired and they're only on minimum pensions and they're downsizing, but, they bought a new home because they found the home that they want for retirement. They haven't been able to sell theirs. So that's where private financing comes in, where, there's a cost attached to it, which is a little bit more than you would pay at the bank, but still allows you to get into that home until your existing home sells. So
when I first developed this guaranteed sale, what I did is I started with your home sold in 90 days or it's free. And then I developed this guarantee because what I realized is that the real estate catch-22 is, do I buy first or do I sell first? Well, if I sell first, I might be stuck with no home. But if I buy first, I might be stuck with two homes, right? So there was always that gap of either no homes or two homes, and I'm like, what if I developed something that was that took away that pain point of owning no home or two homes? And that's what the guarantee does. It just allows you to have something in writing that you can use at the bank, that your home is sold. We're still going to put it on the market as normal. We're going to market it as normal. We're going to sell it as normal, and hopefully, you're going to get a higher price, a better price than what I'm offering you. But we also saw what happened in COVID. We also saw markets shift. We see what's going on with the rates when they skyrocket and our market slowed down. Like, the market does change, so it just says, listen, if the market goes haywire and wonky, you still have something in your back pocket that I can give you, that your house is sold if I can't do a better job and get you a higher dollar.
I can't imagine finding your dream home and then being stuck with two homes at the end of it.
It happens
on the buy, and that's so I can see where that can be very helpful.
Where this is also useful too. I've probably had, no word of a lie, probably a handful of realtors who have actually called me and said, "Hey, Paul, I have my client's house listed right now. They've already purchased, and they can't close on that home if they don't have their home sold. I'm willing to give up this listing. Can you take this listing over and guarantee it so I can get them the buy side. And it's happened a handful of times where that realtor's called me, which
That says a lot.
Which it does say a lot, but smart on them too, right? Like, sure, if they
It's doing the right thing for your client.
For your client, because if they don't do that, those people are not only not selling their home, but they're getting screwed on their purchase. And probably sued at the same time.
Yeah.
So by them doing that, it's like, okay, I'm going to give up, trying to sell your property and probably a decent dollar trying to sell your property. But in the end, I'm doing the right thing by you, getting Paul to come in and guarantee this property so you can get your dream home and you can move into that dream home. And it's happened probably a handful of times. Now, the guarantee when our market was insane was irrelevant. Like nobody needed my guarantee to sell their property. So no one took it. So for probably 4 years, I didn't do a guarantee.
Through COVID, there was none. But when Dave was talking, it was like, 5 years ago, it was probably more like 6 that we did Dave's. And that's when the market was average, right? And people needed guarantees. Well, guess what the market is now? Average. We're back to a normal
market, and now
market.
the guarantee. So I actually had to do like an advanced training with my team again because it's been so long since we've done the guarantee. So I had to refresh everything that they had to know and do and the language they needed just to be able to even talk about the guarantee because we hadn't talked about it in quite a while. So, but it's back. It's definitely back.
So Frank, besides what has to happen for somebody to qualify for? I assume you have to qualify for bridge financing if you need. You have to qualify separately.
Well, it is a separate transaction altogether, and it's specifically tied to the sale of your home and the equity you have, and it takes into account the fact that there's real estate commission, and generally speaking, the lenders will use a 6% mark, even though it's probably not the norm anymore, but that's what the norm was. So if the contract, if they're really tight and they need as much bridge financing as possible, then in some cases we need to get a copy of the real estate contract to show that the real estate commission could have been 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, whatever it is, so that the bank can take that into account and actually determine exactly how much equity they've got in their house that they're going to be able to liquidate for them to use as bridge financing.
But don't just assume you have bridge financing, right?
Can't.
You can't assume that.
You can't.
So if you're like, oh, well, when my house sells, I'll just get my bridge financing. Well, that's like I always say to the client, no. You need to talk to make sure that you are approved for bridge financing because keep in mind,
how much?
Keep in mind, you're carrying 2 homes, right? So you're literally taking money to put on this home to close on this one. Yeah. You're carrying 2 mortgages. Like if you're really tight, not everyone applies or not everyone qualifies for the bridge financing.
And what they take into account is the fact that sometimes, and usually what we're seeing is 7 to 10 days. Usually bridge financing is 7 to 10 days where
it's a short term.
It's a short term. But on occasion, it could be 60 days. So what the bank and lender will take into account, how much interest is going to accrue over that 60, 90 days, and that's how much equity they're going to free up because they need to make sure that they get paid on the sale of the house. So once the mortgage gets paid and the bridge financing gets paid, they want to make sure that there's enough there as well as the real estate commissions for them to get paid back. So
to get flipped back in.
Again, it's not black and white. You need some expertise in calculating how much you can get as a bridge loan. You definitely need to have that firm sale. Without the firm sale, and a guaranteed program is considered a firm sale, but you definitely need to have that because I can't tell you how many times people call me and say, I need bridge loan, but my house hasn't sold yet. Then it's not a bridge loan. Now what you're applying for is separate financing. You need to qualify for it because you're still going to be carrying the mortgage on the existing home and the new mortgage. And now we need to figure out how we're going to get the equity out of one home to the other because you need the down payment to buy the new home. So it's not as
it's a tricky
straightforward
situation
as people think it is.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'll get called in to do the guarantee, and some of the things I will ask, I'm like, let's talk about your financing first. Have you talked about some alternate financing, or is that not an option? Do you desperately need the guarantee? Is that the only option? Then let's talk more about the guarantee. And there's a lot of times that I'll actually tell someone they don't need it, because they don't understand that, okay, I'm looking at your $900,000 home, you owe nothing on it. Well, you do understand you can most likely refinance that home to put the money down on that new home if you're, if you needed to. Do you really need the guarantee? And sometimes they don't, and they don't understand that they don't. And if they don't need it, then they don't need it. But if they need it, it's a program that's just saved a lot of people. Well,
and we've talked about in the Ottawa market in general is a fairly conservative market. So I can see people just wanting to be very conservative, very thoughtful about the process.
Well, there's a lot of elderly that take the guarantee. And even if I say to them, guys, you really don't need it. I mean, you're sitting in a home that you've owned outright for years. You don't have any debts. Your credit's amazing. You can just refinance this if necessary to buy that new property. And they're like, no, we just want the peace of mind that our home is sold. And I'm like, not a problem. Let's do the peace of mind then. We'll go that way.
Have a question? Head over to realestateandmortgageshow.com and submit your question there. We'll answer it on air. And if you want to give us a call, 521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We actually have a question submitted to realestateandmortgageshow.com from Therese. And Therese asked, do you foresee that hardwood floors are here to stay? Meaning, should I replace the carpet on my stairs, upper hallway, and bedrooms to get a better return when I sell my house? Will that help?
Hardwood is 100% here to stay. It's the most popular product on a floor. There's some beautiful laminates now that look just like a hardwood. In fact, we were talking in the break, and Frank has laminate upstairs, and he's like, people just like beautiful hardwood. He didn't even they think it's hardwood. So there are some beautiful laminate products. Now, if you're staying in your house and you want to utilize this hardwood, it's always going to give you a better return than carpet will. But keep in mind, there's some people that prefer carpet upstairs on the feet in the bedrooms. In the bedrooms, for sure. Stairs, if you're ripping out your carpet, putting hardwood on stairs, very expensive, extremely expensive on stairs. Hallways, a lot of times people want carpet on stairs. Hallways could be hardwood. Bedrooms, maybe you'll see sometimes the master bedroom hardwood. But still, people still like seeing carpet in bedrooms. It'll always give you a better return. Hardwood will always give you a better return than anything. But don't just do it to sell. Don't do hardwood just to sell, unless your flooring is terrible and your carpets are worn and stuff like that. You might have to do it. But hardwood's the most expensive product, but it is the most popular product.
And if you're doing that, paint before you get your floor replaced.
Absolutely. But that's great. So it's realestateandmortgageshow.com. If you're nervous about coming on the air or you just can't
call in for whatever reason.
Yeah. Put your question there and we'll answer it every single week on the air.
Hey, Paul, do you see on stairs where there's both? There's the hardwood and then there's that kind of runner in the middle.
Oh, that's nice.
Carpet.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I see it all the time.
A lot of
times. Especially for older people that are scared to slip and stuff.
Definitely.
Myself included, sometimes I've slipped a couple of times on that hardwood. It's like
it's a great solution, and I see it in houses, photographing houses all the time.
Right?
Yeah, I see it all the time.
If you take a lot of the really, really expensive, really beautiful homes, almost all of them have hardwood with a runner. With the runners
on the stairs. Definitely.
It really gives it that classy feel. So absolutely. Yeah. The other thing we were talking about in the break is pre-approvals, and I Frank's been away for beautiful 4 weeks. Beautiful 4 weeks.
Ratings are way up according to.
Well, actually, I just got a text from the studio from LA. They're dropping our.
They're rescinding.
They're rescinding the offer now that Frank's on the show. They're listening right now.
Yep.
But Frank, you know what's happening right now, and it happened to me this week. Is I had a house, put it on the market on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 15, 17 showings, sold in a blink of an eye, got their top dollar. Give a week for financing, a week for home inspection. Then they call you on Thursday night and they're like, yeah, the financing didn't go through or the home inspection didn't go through. And I mean, Greg has a really good friend who's a great realtor in the city who's had 7 deals fall apart on financing because the buyer's agent didn't get the pre-approved properly. So the house that I had to put back on the market hit again yesterday. Crickets.
Wow.
Crickets. Yeah. It kills the sale. Yeah. So we talked about this when you were gone. I think Lisa was on the show. A pre-approval. First of all, a 60-second pre-approval is not a pre-approval. Unless you're talking to a bank or you're talking to a mortgage broker and you're actually handing them documents and getting that hard pre-approval. I can't even tell you how important it is. You're not only hurting yourself as the agent showing the home, you're hurting the buyers, you're hurting the sellers for sure. Like it was a terrible call for me to have to call my seller the other day and say, I know you're waiting for me to come over and put that sold sign on today, but we don't have a deal anymore and we have to put your home back on the market and go through all those showings again. I'm so sorry. Well, I get the earful too, because why weren't they pre-approved? I'm like, well, I can only do so much. It wasn't one of my agents. It was a different agent and they just weren't pre-approved. I asked every question under the moon and they were promised they were pre-approved. So other than asking for a letter, it's crippling. Like it's just crippling.
It just is that there's people out there that think that because they've got a full-time job that they're automatically going to get approved for a mortgage because they went out there and got a car loan 6 months ago at $1,000 a month and then do the math to figure out that that's going to actually hinder their pre-approval.
Right.
They might have good credit, they might have a good job, but you need to qualify still. And keep in mind, we still have a stress test in place, which means that you have to qualify at 2 percentage points above what you're going to get. So if you're getting a 4% mortgage, now you have to qualify at 6%. And depending on your circumstances, you may not qualify for 30 years. You may only qualify for 25 years. And all of a sudden, the payment isn't exactly what you thought it would be because you have no idea how many people go on there and use the calculators. And great that you use the calculator, but the calculator is not for qualifying purposes. The calculator specifically for you to figure out what your payment's going to be. But you need to know that you're going to have to qualify at 6% instead of 4%, and that changes the payment a lot, and it changes your qualifying potential a lot. So get formally pre-approved. Like Paul said, a formal pre-approval includes you giving me your pay stub. If you're self-employed or variable income, us getting your 2 years tax returns, notice of assessment, so that we vetted all the numbers up front. We've vetted the paperwork. We've looked at your down payment. We've looked at your credit. And therefore, you can, with confidence, go out there and put an offer on a house. And the only thing that's going to hold you back from being able to qualify for it is if the house fails, because not only do you have to pass, but the house needs to pass too. A lender or bank needs to know that they want to mortgage that house, that house is marketable should something go sideways. So, a house that's sold with a listing that says as is needs a lot of TLC. The bank may not want to lend on that property at all.
I monitor all the company feedback, and the worst feedback I get, and the only time I ever get angry with another agent, is when the feedback says, lovely property, my clients absolutely loved it. We love this, love this, love this. I'm now going to try get them pre-approved. I'll literally pick up the phone and call that agent and said, you just wasted my seller's time, and you wasted your own time by showing someone who's not pre-approved.
You don't even know that they can buy that property.
You don't even know they can buy it. But what did you just do? You just took the seller out of their home during dinner, and they spent the day cleaning their house to make sure it's absolutely perfect for the showing, only to find out that you're not even pre-approved to buy the home. So please do the work. And it really, the person it hurts the most is the seller. Because now I got to put these homes back on the market. And, even a building inspection, when it fails, you got to put the home back on the market, and guess what happens? It then turns stigmatized. It's stigmatized. Like what happened to that home? Like it's crippling to the seller, and it makes me so mad. But anyways,
all right, Frank, birthdays?
Yeah, a couple actually. Sherry Crease celebrating her birthday today.
Yes,
who filled in for me for a couple of weeks. So happy birthday, Sherry! 49 yet again. So happy birthday to Sherry. And my beautiful goddaughter, Selena, celebrating her birthday today. So happy birthday to Selena. And Paul, I just got an email from that TV station in L.A. They said, yeah, we did rescind, Paul. We want you. So there you go.
Well, you know what? And listen, so I don't have any birthdays, but what I do want to do is I want to apologize to all the people who I was in touch with yesterday, who I talked to, who was around me, because I was very grumpy yesterday. And I now just want to let you know it's because I knew I was live on the air with Frank today, and I just my grumpiness started yesterday. So I'm really, really sorry that I've been in such a great mood for a month. And now I'm in a bad mood.
And again, thank you, Sherry and Lisa, for filling in for me.
They did
really
an amazing
much
job.
Appreciated. They are amazing.
And before we go, you'll tell about the website. But once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're in the presence of a Hall of Famer.
Two Hall of Famers.
Well, that's true. Yes.
All right. Have a question before next week's show. Give it. You can fill out a questionnaire at realestateandmortgageshow.com. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week.
And please continue to support local businesses and charities.